Recording is started.
Good evening. I call the public hearing and meeting of the Newton Planning Board for September 22nd, 2020 to order. As chair of the Newton Planning Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04 and most recently extended by executive order 2020-18, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I confirm that we are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen, if necessary, participate in the meeting telephonically or by going to the Zoom website. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting telephonically. Instructions were also provided on the town website. If anyone has problems, they should email the planning board office at planningboard@newtonnh.net. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting will be rescheduled and adjourned. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Also, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 23, pursuant to executive order 2020-04, most recently extended by executive order 2020-18, the planning board is relieved from the statutory and local requirements to meet on a particular schedule or a certain number of times within a given time frame. The planning board is also relieved from complying with statutory or local deadlines for accepting, hearing, and acting on planning board applications. Note, as an attendee to the meeting, your microphone and off phone will be muted. The board chair will specify when the public comment period is open for the application. Town staff will be in attendance at the meeting to maintain the public comment process. If you are participating online with the Zoom program, click on the hand icon at the bottom of the screen. This will raise your hand so that the moderator knows that you wish to speak. If you are participating by phone, press *9. This will indicate to the moderator that you wish to speak. When it is your turn, the moderator will unmute you and let you know that you can share your comments. When speaking during the meeting, please announce your name to the administrative assistant so the administrative assistant can know who is speaking when he is taking the minutes. This time I'd ask the administrative assistant to call the roll of the members and alternates.
In accordance with 91A, please state whether or not you are alone or in the presence of others. Mr. Hamill.
Present and alone.
Ms. Estabrook.
Present and alone.
Ms. Collier.
Present and alone.
Mr. Foote.
Present and alone.
Mr. White.
Present and not alone.
Mr. Andrews.
Present and alone.
Mr. Cromlick.
You guys?
He posted on Facebook that he would be getting to the meeting late.
Oh, okay. Ms. Allen is not here this evening. Ms. White.
Present and not alone.
Mr. Sforza. Mr. Sforza. Mr. Zott. Mr. Zielinski. You do have a quorum, Mr. Chair. You have one alternate.
Okay. At this time, I'll appoint Ms. White to be a voting member in the place of Mr. Cromwell. Where'd my paper go? Before we get started, at the August 25th, 2020 meeting, alternate Mr. Sforza was named as a voting member. At that time, he had not been sworn in as a member of the board. I spoke to town council concerning this procedural defect. As of yesterday, I have been told that Mr. Sforza has been sworn as an alternate to the planning board. In order to rectify the defect, I make a motion that the board ratify all of the actions of the board that Mr. Sforza participated in at the August 25th, 2020 meeting. Can I have a second?
I second. This is Annie.
Is there any discussion? So we're not re-voting on each individual thing. This is just a confirmation that the actions that were taken at that meeting are the actions of the board. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, I would ask the administrative assistant to,
Oh, Roger, it's Sandra. I have a question then.
okay.
If we step down on certain things, does it cover like the things we step down on, or it doesn't really matter?
This is just we are confirming that what the board did that night is what the board did.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, even though I was recused on some items, you were recused on some items. We're not voting on the individual items, just to confirm that what happened that night was the actions of the board.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd ask for a call of the roll.
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. White,
Aye.
that is unanimous.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the agenda, and I am going to recuse myself on the first two items. So Ms. Estabrook will chair those two items.
Mr. Chair, when we get to that point, the applicant has requested on public hearing number 2 and public hearing number 5, they have requested in writing for a continuance.
Okay.
Does that
Okay,
require a second?
So I should go now?
Yes, you're up, Sandy.
I'm up. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna, because Roger stepped down and Barbara's the only alternate here tonight, I'm gonna have her as a voting member in his place.
No, she's already a voting member.
Oh, she's already a voting member. Okay,
So you're just going to run this with 6 votes.
right, so we have nobody to fill your spot.
Correct.
Okay. So then that's what we're gonna do, vote on 6 things, 6 people. Okay, so a continuation for 125 Development Corp of Plastow, New Hampshire, request a public hearing for a 4-lot subdivision at 6 Puzzle Lane, Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as tax map 14, block 1, lot 27-3. While speaking during the meeting, please announce your name so that the administrative assistant can know who is speaking as he takes the minutes. I guess the first would be Jennifer, the planning person. Do you have any input on the completeness of the application?
Hey, Sandy. So you guys have already accepted jurisdiction of this application at the last meeting. So
Correct.
you have accepted jurisdiction. There were a number of waivers where effectively the condition of granting those waivers is that the information be supplied. That sort of summarizes most of them. I do believe on the submission that they submitted on September 17th that they did supply all of the information sort of required for those waivers. My only comment regarding the waivers is that I would recommend they get listed on the plan set. That could certainly be a condition of any approval. My other two comments are that they still will require approval from Plastow, and thus a signature block for the Plastow Planning Board should be included on the plan set. Again, that could be a condition of approval, both the approval of Plastow and the signature block. And my last comment is still regarding the frontage of lot 27-3, and just recommending that a licensed land surveyor who surveyed the property have an updated stamp and signature. That would also be applicable for the wetland scientist that also credentials appear on the plan. So having that licensed of any professionals who appear on the plan, updated stamps and signatures.
So, we don't have a paper copy of that one from August, right?
You do not have a paper copy in your packets about
Right.
from my review letter. It was emailed out, I believe, yesterday morning. I got the application last Thursday at around 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I don't know if that is in your packets of the updated plan set.
No, those arrived too late to go in the packet.
But you're showing them on the screen, Jim? Is that what's up? Is that the latest ones?
Actually, let me. No, I do not have them electronically.
Okay. So those wouldn't have included any of the variances that we asked them to fulfill, because that was August 17th and our meeting was August 22nd.
They have all of their variances that they require for this subdivision. They have also been granted all of the waivers that they requested. The waivers that had conditions of that they supply the information, like the topography and all of the survey bounds, have all been satisfied.
Okay,
From
that
the
was my
last
question,
meeting.
yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so I lost my paper. Thank you, Jen. We also did a site walk on this property on the 13th. Was that the date? Jim, for the site walk, the 13th?
It is.
Okay. There are some notes from that in the packet.
Sandy, this is Jen. I would recommend that any of the board members that were in attendance of the site walk, for those board members that were not in attendance, comment on anything they had questions about or saw that they wanted to bring up, or if they have anything to bring up.
Oh, okay. So any board members that went to the site walk, do you have any questions for the applicant or stuff you noticed when you were out there? Well, I guess I'll start because this is Sandra. We did a lot of walking and nice driving. I did look around at the entrance to the 108 side that is the 50-foot whatever right away there. And I asked a few questions about that. I'm still concerned at that width and if it's a major road or a minor road or how that's going to affect things. The rest of it was very informative. I'd never been down there before, so now I have a clearer vision. We did spend a lot of time on the other end too, where Puzzle Lane ends and it goes into the two buildings that are going to be subdivided, I think, to be sold, and then where the new building is going to be. We looked around that, and I don't think anyone had too many questions about that. So that was my general view of what went on.
Okay, this is Annie.
Yeah.
I have been to the site. I was not able to go to the site walk, but I've been there several times to look around. I am familiar with it. One of the questions that I would have of Jennifer is it would seem that this division application has nothing to do with the 50-foot approval of the 50-foot entrance or anything else. It's just a division into 4 lots where there's no building or anything else proposed on lot 3. Is that correct?
That is true. However, one of the clauses in your subdivision regulations is that the planning board should consider future uses of the property, which is why that frontage, because of that, the zoning of the larger lots, that's why I have brought it up several times, because of the future proposal that has been publicly acknowledged before the planning board several times. So it should be a consideration, but yes, there is no road planned at this time.
Can it be a consideration which is just noted on the approval of the subdivision that any development of lot 3 needs to have that considered at that time?
You certainly could put a note on the plan to that effect. It would sort of be a moot point because when you would get to any future subdivision, obviously the application for that has actually been filed, you would consider that as well. But the moment that lot 27-3, as it's proposed in the subdivision, is created, it has lost its frontage on the two, on Puzzle Lane itself and on 108. Currently, it enjoys 2 sets of frontage.
Okay.
So this is Mike, just one question on that. I know there was a lot of variances given, but just because we were talking about 27.3 to remind me. So essentially the variance for the frontage on 27.3, did that create a non-compliant lot?
The
our zoning?
variances that were granted allow for the creation of a non-compliant lot because you require 150 feet of frontage, and currently on Puzzle Lane, lot 27-3 has that frontage. It also has the 50 feet on 108. The variances allow for the nonconformity. The approval of the lot as a subdivision lies with the planning board.
Right, okay.
Now you just confused me.
The lot does not legally exist until the planning board approves the subdivision, regardless of having variances or not.
Right.
Sandra, this is
Yes.
Barbara. Can I
Hi,
speak?
Barbara. Sure.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I was on the site walk also. And it was very enlightening for me because I didn't know the scope of how big that the property is. And I thought Tom did an excellent job bringing us around and explaining all the different areas. And I appreciated that.
Thank you. Yes, Tom was very, very good at the site walk. Everyone was. I thought everyone did a good job. I'm still trying to process the fact that a lot.
Can anybody hear me?
Who is it?
This is Jace. I just
Jace,
wanted to
yeah.
confirm that
Well,
I'm not muted. Just to
Oh.
clarify for everybody on this particular item, we've already gotten all the approvals with ZBA. All you guys are basically doing is just drawing like crayons on a map just to have the allotted lots there. I mean, that's really just for this item. That's all we're doing. Just creating lines. we have the approvals for ZBA already. To simplify it, we're just putting lines on the map.
Well, I don't agree with that because from what I'm thinking from Jennifer that yes, you can draw the lines on the map, but then the planning board has the power to not make it a legal lot. Or am I understanding that right, Jen?
The ZBA has allowed us to have a conforming
Effectively,
lot
Sandy,
system.
you're correct. If you don't approve the subdivision, the lots are not legal lots. They have gotten all of the variances that are required to create a non-conforming lot. What I've been bringing up is that under some of the general purposes and intent of your subdivision, effectively, you're allowed to look at the larger intent of the subdivision, the future planning, to see if it's harmonious.
This is Annie. May I speak?
Sure.
I think that the future intent of the whole 27-3 is rather large and is a huge consideration and is its own individual application. And I think that we should defer discussing those items on that until that one comes up. And I think we should move forward so that the applicant can have their 3 lots separated and proceed with that, and then proceed to get our approvals or non-approvals or whatever action we take on 27-3.
Right. I just want to open the discussion that it's a possibility that if they cut themselves off from any other right of way, that the possibilities of having that other thing might not be there or less possible, at least in my mind. Okay, moving on.
This is Mike. I have this since we're just talking here, and I enjoyed this, the site walk, and Tom was very informative. I appreciate that. My biggest issue, as it pertains to this particular case in front of us, of course, is just that 50 feet of frontage that is remaining, and complying with our overall ordinance and looking at the proposed further use. That is legal for a, as we call it, a collector road, and that is it, which would currently not allow the next phase of the planned development. So that's just one thing that we need to look at, whether that will change anything on the vote for this project, this 4 lot. That's for the individual. But right now, that 50 feet to me is the biggest limitation moving forward. And as long as the applicant knows that and is satisfied that at least one member of this board feels that that is a very big sticking point for their next phase of proposal, then I feel we can go ahead and with this vote. Or
Okay.
a vote.
This is Annie. Could the applicant please affirm to us that they are aware of the risks that they're taking with that, so that we're comfortable knowing that we're acting with your full knowledge? Mr. Leckberg, perhaps? Or your engineer?
Yeah, I'm Tom Lackborg speaking. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We're fully aware of the consequences, and we're willing to accept, our future on that 50-foot zone. We feel comfortable with that. That's all we've ever had, and we will deal with that at that point with you guys, and when we're ready for that. So if we could just have you people vote tonight, the board, on this part to separate was the simple fee lot subdivision. I think that's probably the best thing at this point.
Okay. Okay, we could do some input from the public. Please remember you are speaking to announce your name so that the administrative assistant can know who's speaking. The public's asked to keep the comments short due to the lengthy agenda. And the people will be called on in turns to who wants to speak. So Jim, is there anyone in the queue from the public that would like to speak?
I don't see any hands raised at this moment.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Roger?
I would like to speak as a member of the public.
Okay. Please state your name and be short.
Okay, I'm Roger Hamill. I live in Sergeant Woods. My concerns on this are related to the common driveway. And I would, if this is proposed, if this is going to be approved, I would point out the subdivision regulations 824A1EI, which relates to having a note on the Mylar that relieves the town of liability in case that the road is not maintained and emergency equipment can't get there. The language of that is in our regulations. Also, in the that's section in subsection 4, it's talking about private roads rather than driveways, but it to some extent I think this also applies there, that it requires that the developer provide legal instruments to ensure the continued maintenance and ownership of that right of way. And I think that you should require that before the subdivision is approved, those legal protections that the road will be maintained should be on file.
Right,
That's all.
I think you're correct, Roger. I think I remember reading that about the having legal written somewhere in the, I don't know if it's like in the documents for the condo thing of, right, how that road's going to be maintained so that, right, it can stay open for the access of those people that are going to buy those two buildings. But I can't remember what section number it was either.
Okay, well, it's the one about the town liability is in the subdivision regulations 8.2.4A1EI. And the one for having a legal instrument to ensure the maintenance of is 8.2.4A4.
Okay.
I don't know if Jen wants to comment on those things.
Roger, that actually should already be in the right-of-way easement for the access easement.
But it's not there yet. So
They may need to be amended for that easement to meet that.
there is no easement now.
There is an access road easement.
No, this is at the Puzzle Lane end, not at the 108 end.
I understand there is already a right-of-way easement.
For who?
There is a right-of-way easement, but to expand it to allow it to be used for these two lots, it would need to be amended. It's not a new easement.
This is Annie, may I speak? Jen, does that mean amending the easement would cover both of those, relieving the town of liability and the road maintenance? Would that cover both of those?
The liability should already be in the easement. Covering the 2 new lots would have to be amended. Having that kind of amendment as a condition of approval and having town council review it for that purpose would not be an unusual condition of approval.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the regulation actually says that the release of liability should be on the Mylar.
So we could put that as an amendment or on a condition when if we do,
Yes, this
Yeah.
is Jen.
Okay, Mr. Pidorek has his hand up.
okay, go ahead. Is he a member of the public?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
You're self-muted, Mr. Pidorek.
I'm very sorry about that. Jason Peterak from Greenfield Hills, about around 27.3. I believe this subdivision creates the lot 27.7. Do the denial of variances on this lot last night by the ZBA cause this to be an unbuildable lot? And does that affect the 4-lot subdivision application?
Andy, this is Jen. I can probably answer that.
Go ahead, Jen.
The variances that were denied last night do not apply to this subdivision. This subdivision proposal has already received all of its necessary variances. The denials from last night pertain to, on this subdivision, what the biggest lot is. The proposal from last night is a different application.
Thank you
So-
for the clarification.
So the denial last night has no impact on what we're talking about currently.
Excellent, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I attended last night's ZBA. There were 2 proposals that were presented. One was for the site plan for 27.7, and those variances were denied. And then there was also the 34 lot subdivision, and those were denied. So the site plan variances for 27.7 were denied last night by the ZBA.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Guest with a telephone number ending in 7001 has raised his hand. I'm asking him to unmute.
*6 Coleman.
Yes, this is Coleman McDonough. If the planning board moved to approve this plan, Bill Perry is my attorney, and he'll give you a full-blown maintenance agreement on the roadway, which has never been a problem. We mow the grass, both 6 Puzzle Lane and 125 development. We all contribute to the snow plowing, but I know that it's where Roger is coming from. And this is a legal maintenance agreement that will be, if the board approves, it will be you can, as Jen said, could make it a condition, and Phil Perry would draw that up to be accepted by town council or the planning board.
Okay, thank you, Coleman.
Mr. Alberti has his hand up.
Go ahead, Mr. Alberti.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Tom Alberti, a butter in Greenfield Hills. I just have a question regarding the 50-foot roadway on 108. It was mentioned that there was a question about whether that requirement should be 60 feet designated by the state. I think it was noted at the recent walkthrough that the width was rather narrow, that 2 large trucks would not be able to get by, and that the roadway would be raised. And if you have trucks that couldn't get by each other on a raised roadway, there was the issue of potentially falling off to the side, things like that. So I just want to find out how the impact of the 60-foot potential requirement might have on this decision.
Well, like we just said, at this point, we're only subdividing those into those 4 pieces. So we can't project yet, because like that'd be the next step after they get the 4-lot subdivision.
Maybe to help you with that, this is Mike. That's why I brought up that I just, that I wanted the applicant to definitely know that with that 50 feet, it is an issue with their next plan proposal. However, for this 4-lot, it doesn't really, it doesn't really matter.
Sandy, this is Jen. Just to note, the 60-foot requirement is not the state, it is Newton's own regulations.
Correct. Okay. I don't know if anyone remembers, but I think Mike McNally did give some comments about this 4-lot subdivision.
No, he did not.
He didn't?
No.
For a subdivision like this, it is not typical for the engineer to review when there is no construction being proposed.
Oh, so what I'm looking at is probably for the one when they add the building.
He has one for lot 27-7 as it's proposed. He has a letter also for the 36-lot subdivision proposed.
Okay.
Right.
Not for this application.
All right, so the one I'm looking at goes for the smaller building. Okay, thank you for keeping me straight.
Mr. Leckberg has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just Tom Leckborg speaking. I just want to clarify the entrance. Regardless whether it's 50 feet wide or 60 feet where we end up, the pavement will always remain 26 feet wide, regardless of the width of the entrance property. So, so people understand, the entrance we have on Puzzle Lane right now is only 26 feet also. And it has no issues with tractor trailers meeting each other or turning in or turning out. I just want to clarify that. All right.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, if we don't have any more discussion, does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. This is Annie.
Is,
I'll make a motion to approve this.
oh,
Yes?
does the applicant have anything else to say? Sorry, I forgot to ask. I guess not. Okay, Annie, I guess we're ready for your motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the following provisions: that all waivers granted be listed on the Mylar, that there'll be a line for the Plastow signature, that there'll be an updated appraiser stamp and signature, and that all the easements now enforced be amended, but with approval from town council.
Can you
Andy, this
repeat
is
that?
Jen. Can I make a couple of suggestions that are along the
Absolutely.
same lines of what you just stated, but I think
Yep.
might be a little cleaner? That all professionals whose stamps appear on the plan have signatures. So that would include your wetland scientist, your engineer, and your land surveyor.
Okay, aren't they all there? Except you just need an update with the,
The wetland scientist signature is not there. His stamp is.
okay. So yes, by all means, add that one.
That approval by the town of Plastow and then also the signature block be a requirement. And that a recordable Mylar be provided.
Okay. I'll accept those amendments.
They're merely suggestions. I can't amend.
Well, I will amend to incorporate those suggestions. Thank you.
And Sandy, this is Mike, just for the
Hi.
clarification, the liability waiver and the written legal protections is what you were alluding to, correct, when you said amending the easement?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and I believe if we, Chair, if you think that we need to have the actual number of the ordinance, the 8.2.4, et cetera.
Right.
Um,
Like
However,
Roger
that
did, yeah, Roger did state, and I think in our rules, there is a certain verbiage you're supposed to have on there.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
verbiage.
So at this point, there's a motion that's been multiply amended, and I'm happy with it.
Okay, then this is Mike. I'll second that.
Thank you.
So, I think, do we have discussion on the motion?
We can.
Jim, did you have a chance to get them all written down?
I have five conditions.
2, 3.
All waivers to be included on the recorded Mylar. Plastow approval and signature block on the recorded Mylar. All professional signatures and stamps. Recordable Mylars, usually you list what pages you want recorded. And a liability waiver and legal protections to be in place per subdivision regulations, and I do have those written down in my notes. They're like 4 pages back.
Okay.
So do you have a choice of what pages you want recorded?
We have to say that they should mark all the properties, put up marks and all that stuff too? It's another friendly amendment.
Set bounds.
Set the bounds. Is that okay, Annie?
Yes, that's fine.
That set bounds is a standard.
Okay.
I assume that's okay, Mike?
Caller with 7001 as their last 4 digits of their phone number has his hand raised.
Okay, is that a member of the public?
I believe so.
Okay.
A member of the board.
Please
It's
state
Coleman.
who you are. Oh,
I
it's
think it's
Coleman?
Coleman.
Oh. Go ahead, Coleman.
No, the question's already been answered. Yeah, it was, again, the road maintenance agreement that Phil would draw up could be approved by either the planning board or some account.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And Jim, this is Mike. Which are the standard Mylars that are typically filed? I can't remember.
On a set like this,
It's just the subdivision, not the
Right.
existing conditions, and not the test pits, not the cover page.
right.
It's merely the subdivision.
Okay, as long as it has all the notes we're requesting on the recorded, then that's good.
So I think that would be 4 pages.
Got 5 in my packet.
Okay.
Yes. Fine.
Okay, so if there's no other discussion, I guess we can call the question. You have all our amendments written down, Jim?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Who seconded the motion?
Mike. Andrews.
so we have a motion on the floor to approve the subdivision with the conditions listed. Do we want to read them again, or does everyone feel comfortable what they are?
I recommend we waive reading them again.
Okay, so Jim, can you read the whole motion and the conditions?
Okay, Ms. Collier moved to approve the application with the following conditions: that all waivers be included on the recording page of the Mylar, that the plan receive Plastow approval and the signature block be included on the Mylar for Plastow signatures. All professional stamps and signatures be on the page, the required pages. The recordable Mylars will have all notes shown on the Mylar, and it will be a 5-page set that will be recorded. That a liability waiver and legal protections be in place per subdivision 8:8.1.2 A.1.E.1, E.I, and set the bounds.
There was another one too, 8 dot.
Yes, there are two. One is
One was 2.
4A and one is 4B.
Right, okay.
Hey, Jim,
Who's
Yes.
trying to speak?
Sandy, Larry.
Larry? Yep.
Evan's trying to get in with the last 4 numbers of 7321. He can't get in.
I admitted him twice.
All right, he just texted me. He can't get in. Hey, it's Evan. I'm in.
Oh, who's in?
Yep, I'm in.
Oh, hi, Evan.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Okay, so having read the motion, Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Just noting Mr. Cronlick's arrival.
Okay.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Okay.
Would you like to close the public hearing?
We could close the public hearing on that, item number 1 for the 4-lot subdivision.
At 7:51.
7:51. Let's see what time it is. I don't have a clock.
It's 7:51, Sandra.
Okay, so we're moving on to item number 2.
Madam Chair, the applicant has requested a continuation. Continue.
Okay. So the applicant has asked for continuation for item number 2, a public hearing on major non-commercial site plan at Puzzle Lane. The property is referenced at tax map 14, block 1, lot 27-7. Continued to our next meeting, which would be October.
The next meeting will be on October 13th.
October 13th.
Sandy, this is Jen. Since they've requested 2 continuances for item number 2 and item number 5, you could do them all with one motion.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that item number 2 and number 5 be continued to our meeting on October 13th.
I'll second
Per
that.
request of
second
the
it.
developer. Annie seconded.
Yes.
So I don't think we have to have discussion really, right? So Jim, can you call the roll?
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. White,
You're muted.
Aye. Sorry about that.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Very efficient, Sandy.
Thank you. I'm good at this after all this time. Oh, I get to step down now.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to thank everyone. That was very good. And now I have to step down and Roger will be coming back.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm back in. So, Ms. White will not be voting at this time because we have a full board, correct, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm out because Edwin's back. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So item number 3, Jillian and Jacob Masterson of Newton, New Hampshire request a public hearing on a minor site plan to build a horse barn at 41 West Main Street, Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as tax map 7, block 3, lot 30. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
I can. I know there were 2 concerns that were brought about. One concerned parking and the other concerned, I believe, manure removal. In terms of parking, it's just going to be a private facility. My husband and I train horses. We only have 2 horses at this time, but we'd like to have extra stalls for the opportunity to expand in training additional horses. We also need storage for hay and feed. So some of those other stalls that might initially be considered for horses will be used for storage. In terms of manure, we plan on using an advanced compost system. The system incorporates an electronic blower. This blower helps achieve temperatures that are sufficient to destroy parasites and pathogens, which cause the offensive odors. So this system does eliminate those offensive odors. It also does destroy fly larvae, which can be an issue with manure. So we're going to address those issues. The manure then becomes odorless, and we do plan on using the compost around our property, so we won't have to worry about any waste removal. We plan on using all of that.
Okay. Ms. Rowden, would you like to make some comments on this application?
Sure. So the applicant just sort of addressed my 2 main comments. One was if they were going to be having many people come in for any non-private horse training. It doesn't sound like that's the case. So that's comment doesn't really come into play. The only thing with the manure storage, that the reason I recommended Department of Agriculture best management practices, it also deals with keeping manure on an impervious surface and away from wetlands.
Absolutely.
It sounds like they have a good system going. It was just sort of a standard that's an easy one to capture many things as it is that deal with manure. So the board can take that recommendation or not. And the application does appear complete and to satisfy your minor site plan requirements.
Okay. Does anyone on the board want to make comments at this time?
Yes, Sandra.
About completeness or meeting the requirements for a minor site plan?
This is Mike. I would recommend that we accept jurisdiction and that I believe this, or I'd make a motion that this meets our minor site plan.
I'll second that.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions about that?
Yes, Sandra. I guess I'm confused why it meets our minor site plan. Like, is the barn too big? I know if it's over so many square feet, it has to come to us. Like, I guess I'm not sure why this came in front of us.
Sandy, this is Jen. It's because
Yeah.
they're expanding a non-residential use Agriculture is permitted throughout Newton, but it is still a non-residential use. And in this case, it is not an accessory use to the property, it's a secondary use to the property.
I guess that was my other question. If this is a business in a residential district, then did they have to get a, business permit?
Nope, it's not that it's a business per se, but it is a non-residential use. That's the reason they're before the planning board.
Okay.
And also the size of the building.
Yes, that certainly comes into play.
So it must be within all the setbacks because the building or the building department will check that out, right?
Yes, their proposal also is well within the setbacks.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments on taking jurisdiction as a minor site plan? Does anyone from the public want to comment at this time on those issues? Hearing none, I'll ask Jim to call the roll.
Mr. Kronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Mr. White,
You're muted.
You're muted, Jerry.
Say aye again.
Aye.
Sorry.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Mr. Hamel. That's unanimous.
Okay, so now we go to the application itself. So how far from the road is this barn going to be?
It's well set back from the road. It's at least 300 feet from West Main Street. And we had SEC surveyors come and do property lot lines, and we had the property staked, so we made sure we are within all appropriate setbacks from the lot lines.
Now, your lot kind of gets wider as it goes back. So how close is your neighbor to the side where the barn is?
We are, it's well over 50 feet. I want to say it's about 75 feet.
Okay. And this is a pretty well wooded lot. So basically, if I go driving down West Main Street, I'm not gonna be able to see this thing.
No,
That's
it's because,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
There's an existing cow shed that's on the property, and you can sometimes see that from the road, but it'll even be behind that, behind another set of trees.
And you're saying that the access to the barn is going to be a gravel path?
That's correct. The grade that goes down to the back part of the property that you can see from the aerial views, it's too significant of a grade to safely bring a horse trailer down that's loaded with horses. So you can kind of see where we've already started cutting in a new section that has less of a grade that's safer to bring the horses down.
Mm-hmm. Does any other board members have any questions or comments?
Well, this is Sandra. I just have one. I'm looking at the horseshoe. So is that two accesses to West Main Street or as driveways or just one?
We bought the property that way. I don't know if it would be considered one or two. I'm not quite sure. That's just the way the property was when we purchased it last August.
Sandy, this is Jen. It's possible it would be 2 accesses. It's possible it is a historic grandfather 2 accesses.
Okay, that was my only other question. If, yeah,
This is Mike. Just one quick question. I may have heard it, but so this is just for private use. Now you say like you'd like to do more training. Do you bring in other people's horses to train them, or will these always be your horses?
They're just our horses.
Okay.
We train horses. We bring them to competitions where people observe them, and we do sales. And it's typically off-site at events, but we just train our own horses on our own.
Okay. Thank
This is Roger again. So you're not going to be boarding other people's horses there?
No, not at this time, no. And if we ever did plan to do that, we would absolutely bring it up with the planning board.
Okay.
oh, this is Sandra again. So I see by the barn, you're gonna have a new well site. So I guess you're gonna dig a well or put in a well to supply the barn there?
That's correct. I just don't want to drain our current well. We've had no issues with our current well, but in terms of having to water the horses, and then we're going to have an area that we want to ride in, and that typically is going to need water to reduce the dust. So we just want to be conservative with our current well. So we did decide to put an additional well site. And that site is very approximate. Like it's much further away from the lot line. It was just very hard for me to place on that map.
Right, because it would have to be 100 feet from the lot line, correct, Jen? If they put in a new well, the well radius?
It would have to be 75.
75 feet at least from the lot line?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's well over 75 feet from the lot line.
Okay, but there's no proposed septic system or anything in there, just the well?
We don't, there's not really going to be any waste other than the manure, which we're going to compost. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Nope, I'm all set.
Any comments from the public? Are any of the abutters present and would like to speak? Would someone on the board like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Sandra, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Jim.
That we accept this minor non-residential site plan.
I'll second it.
I would suggest that as a condition of approval, that we require that they use New Hampshire Department of Agriculture
Best practice?
best practice.
Okay, I'll accept that friendly addition.
I mean, it sounds like they're going to do it, but I think just to keep the paperwork straight, we ought to add that to the approval.
Yeah, that sounds good.
This is Annie. I think we should put in their language that's minor non-residential site plan for private use. Also, just to keep the language clear.
You okay with that, Sandy?
Sure.
Roger, this is Mike, just before we go forward, because I've dealt with Department of Agriculture and sometimes the best management practice, which is great, but sometimes they're a little bit behind the times. And I just want to make sure from the applicant that is this composting system, which I'm sure is probably very good, do you know if that complies with the current BMPs from the state?
It goes above and beyond that.
Right. So, but it's recognized by the state because I've dealt with that with the house systems and the, okay. So you're fine with this wording? I guess so. So,
Yeah, no, sorry, yes.
okay, thank you.
Any other comments from anybody?
Did we get a second on the motion?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that Edvin or Mr. Andrews?
Edvin.
Edmund.
So Jim, are you all set with the approval and the conditions?
Mm-hmm.
Jen, do we need to add any other conditions?
I think you're all set.
Thank you. Okay, Jim, will you call the roll?
Mr. Kronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Mr. Hamel.
All right,
It's unanimous.
thank you. So I'll close the public hearing for tax map 7, block 3, lot 30. Next on the agenda is Justin from Brentwood, New Hampshire, request for a minor non-residential site plan, change of use for 35 South Main Street, Newton, New Hampshire. Property is referenced as tax map 12, block 1, lot 11. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Hi, Justin Pragasemer. I currently have a business in Brentwood on Route 125, where the Brentwood machine used to be. I don't know if anybody's seen the cars out there. I mainly work on Volkswagens and air-cooled Porsches. We do the preservation, restoration, and slight repair on vehicles. We're not like a repair shop. We're more of a preservation type restoration shop. We don't do like in and out oil changes and that sort of thing at all. We may do one that is a car that if we're doing restoration work on the engine, we may be doing that, but we definitely are not an in and out repair shop of that nature. But we bring cars back to life that have been off the road for 20, 30, 40 years, do all the mechanicals, light body work. Yeah, I've been doing it for probably since I was about 12 years old, and started my business about 2 years ago, and it's moving quickly and expanding, and that's why I want to move into the building over in Newton. Be a good space for me. So.
Do you own the building now, or are you in the process of?
I'm in the process of purchasing the building from the town of Newton.
So do we have to wait till it's actually purchased before we do this, or like, because the town is actually still the owner of that property, right?
I have to have this done before I purchase the property.
Yeah, Sandy, having it, as long as the town has given authorization to the applicant to submit this application, it's fine that he doesn't own the property at this point.
Wow.
That's pretty common.
Okay.
Do we have that in writing, or will one of the selectmen verify that we have the authority from the town to do this?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, this is Charlie Melvin, Selectman. He has a purchase and sales agreement contingent upon planning board approval. So the planning board has to approve what he wants to do in there previous to him buying it, or he can walk away.
Okay, I just want to make sure we had, that the town approved it, the selectmen approved us.
Yep.
Him coming before the board.
Yep.
And that just got that on the record. That's good.
Matter of fact, we let him use our Mylar to start off with. So Roger, Larry, I have two questions.
Go ahead.
On the application process, when does page 4 get filled out? Is that after approval from the planning board or before approval from the planning board?
I'm trying to figure out what page 4 is. Hold on a
Page
second.
4 is the last page is all the signatures.
Roger, page 4 isn't included in the packets we received, but page 4 has a signature from the building inspector, road agent, fire department, and different departments in town.
Oh, okay.
Page 4 has never been used in the 20 years I've been on the planning board. And quite honestly, I sent all of the department heads that are listed on the back, received an email last week advising them that the plans were available on the website and asked to review. The only person that responded was the fire chief, who said he had no problems with any of the new plans as presented.
So if we haven't used it in 20 years, why is it there then?
Because the whole document needs to be revamped, and I am working on it, but
Only because we run into a couple problems with the past two businesses trying to come into town, that when the planning board approved it, and then they went for their we call them courtesy inspections. The last applicant ran into a roadblock requiring a whole new fire system for the building that he wants to move into. And we told him, well, it's all on page 4, but apparently no one's paying attention to page 4.
Well, this is Mike. If we stop hearing any applications that don't have them all filled out, that might speed things up a little bit. And I think we definitely ought to have code enforcement on there.
So this is Jen. One item that the planning board can't hold up an application simply because they have not gotten their building inspection or their building permit or their fire compliance. You can have planning board approvals conditioned on receipt of compliance with all of those. Planning board can't hold them up because they have not, for example, met with the fire chief to review any necessary upgrades for an occupancy permit. That's outside of the planning board purview.
How about if, I know we're getting sidetracked here, but if there's existing code violations, say on an existing building, can we have code enforcement sign off on it before we take up the project?
No, you can't hold up a project
Okay.
because it has existing enforcement actions against it.
Okay, thank you.
So Jen, this is Edvin. I just have a quick question.
Yep.
So if we approve this and let's say the fire chief goes in and says he's going to need a whole new sprinkler system, et cetera, and it's going to cost him $100,000, does he still make the purchase or does he back out? That's one issue I have with this.
That is fully the applicant's call. I strongly always recommend to applicants going into buildings that they meet with the fire department and building department in addition to coming through the planning board process. For
Right,
exactly
so-
that reason, to understand what they are getting into.
So Jen, that's the whole process that is confusing. Is
Page
at
4.
what point does the applicant do that? Before he comes to the planning board for final approval, or after planning board gets approval?
I strongly recommend applicants always go to the building department and fire department concurrently beforehand. In some cases, they don't heed to that advice, but to speak to those different departments to see what they would
So,
also require about the inside, but it's outside of the planning board's purview.
All right, so I agree 100% with you that they should go before they get heavy into the project, but I was just told by the planning board administrator that they haven't used that form in 20 years. So, but if he says, the fire chief says that he's all set, I'm good with that, but to move on into the next whatever, we should try to sit down and change the process.
I will say getting comments from different departments on whatever the issue might be is different than them necessarily signing off on the project fully. Yeah, so the fire chief, just as an example, could have no concerns, but then maybe they get into the building and they say, oh no, here's all of the things you'll need to do for life safety compliance.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen.
Right, because this is Sandra, like you said, the planning board only has jurisdiction over if the project is feasible or not about all the other, you know, like I said, that's the building department or the whatever else. So it's two separate kind of things.
Land use issues.
Right.
And
Right.
it's part of the buyer's due diligence before he.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, this is
Sandy,
Dustin. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I did check with the fire chief. I have done my due diligence, but I did check with the fire chief. I've spoken with him several times. And he said the building actually isn't big enough to have to worry about a fire suppression system. I believe the state of New Hampshire, I think it's 5,000 square feet or bigger that needs to have that in my type of business. So. I'm not totally positive on that square footage, but that's what him and I talked about. I did look it up. It also depends on too if there's multiple businesses in the same building, and that's when the square footage doesn't matter anymore. That's the reason.
So, Raj, I have a second issue on that building.
What is it? Go ahead,
So
Larry.
Justin, we actually have a Seabrook siren to the left of that building.
Yeah.
That the Seabrook station has to come in once a year and do maintenance on it.
Okay.
The town has a small easement, but we don't know how big it is. Are you willing to give the town just an email or a letter stating that the Seabrook can come in and do the maintenance on that once a year? It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I have absolutely no problem with that. I already, I have no problem with any easements that need to be put into place. Or I know the fire pond in the back that was separated, and if the fire department needs to get in there, I have no problem cooperating any way you need.
Yeah, we did all that, but we forgot about the siren.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so just a friendly email saying I have no issues with the maintenance on the siren once a year from Seabrook Station. We appreciate that.
I have no problem with that. Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jen, will you go over your review letter, please?
Sure. The real basis of my review letter, and Justin, I do apologize. I did get your voicemail late this afternoon, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Is that the plan that was submitted with this application was effectively the lot line adjustment the planning board approved at the last meeting, which is a really good existing conditions plan. And I know that this applicant is not proposing significant changes to the lot, just given what he's proposing to do in his narrative. I'm a little bit not concerned, but I think it would be good to have on record a little bit more detail, and it could be hand drawn on this existing conditions plan from the lot line adjustment to provide some additional detail. And some of it I also think could be done in a narrative letter type form about the kind of repair work that will be done. And it sounds like that's relatively minor repair work as far as anything hazardous, but and that it will be done inside. When you're dealing with any sort of automotive repair, and I realize it's limited repair, you're always worried about what hazardous or flammable chemicals they may be using, because it can impact both fire safety and also groundwater contamination. So that's sort of the little bit more information about what use is planned inside. Parking, showing where customers will be parking, staff. I don't know if you have inventory sometimes or cars going in and out for repair. And that doesn't have to be dedicated specific spots, but just a general idea of where different areas will be parking so that where cars that are maybe going to be there for a while because they're being worked on are not in the same location as where customers will be parking in and out, and so that customer parking wouldn't be blocked. That's sort of the detail I'm talking about. The driveway, because this is a change in use of the property from a fire station to an automotive repair and refurbishing business, DOT will want an amended driveway permit. That's just I recommend as a condition of approval. I would suspect, given the two uses, they won't require any changes to the access, but getting confirmation of that through DOT should be a condition. Again, getting into any waste that will be generated, if you're going to have a dumpster of any size, where will that be located? If you're going to have any hazardous materials, oil, transmission fluid, anything that can be deemed as hazardous, having a list of what will be stored and approximately what volumes and whether it will be stored inside or outside. I would recommend that both because of a potential issue with anything environmental, but also for the fire department to have so that they know if there are any large volumes of any hazardous or flammable materials. Confirmation that the septic system that exists is adequate. I suspect it is, just given the two uses that are being proposed. Signage, where is the sign proposed to be, and what's the size of it that is being proposed? And also hours of operation should be a condition of any approval, whatever they are proposed to be.
Thank you
That's
very much. Thank you. Does any of the board members have any comments, questions?
This is Mike. I just want to discuss early on if we think it meets minimum impact, which I believe it does. But if we move on that, at least that's one step forward.
Okay, so
I think we have enough information to make that decision.
Are you making a motion that we find this to be a minor site plan? It's appropriate for a minor site plan, and that we take jurisdiction because we have enough information?
I believe we have enough information. I wanted to discuss that a little bit more just with Jen's comments to take jurisdiction. Does anybody else have any comments on that?
Well, actually, I was going to ask the applicant. Jen's letter indicates several questions, and several of them that I also had when I looked at this plan. And what would it take to address the information that we were looking for in that letter? Is that something that you can provide for us in a timely manner?
I can provide all that for you. Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
And if we continue this for 2 weeks, it's so that we can you could have this all to us before our next meeting?
Of course.
Okay.
Roger, this is Barbara.
Yes.
May I ask a few questions, or does that have to do after you take after you decide that it's complete?
Well, I think the motion that has not been seconded is that we find that it is conforms with the minor site plan regulations.
Okay, I'll wait then and I'll do my questions when that's finished.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
That conforms with minor site plan and to take jurisdiction?
No, that was not correct, Mike. You are not moving to take jurisdiction.
That's correct at this time, yes.
Okay.
So this is just that we're finding that it is appropriate to do a minor site plan. Any comments on the motion? Okay, can you call the roll? Excuse me, someone say something?
Just a lot of background noise from somebody.
Mr. Kronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Mr. Hamel.
Aye. Now, in terms of completeness, we've got sort of a list of additional information that we're looking for. Does anyone have any other information that they would think that we need in order to have a complete application?
This is Sandra.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay, yeah, so like you said, this plan here shows more or less the lot line adjustment, but there's really no information about the business itself on the plan, like inside the building, you know, are they gonna put up lifts, you know, divided into, you know, smaller things? Like Jen said, the dumpster outside or signage. Is there gonna be any fencing where like vehicles are stored before they're brought in, you know, to be serviced? Just different details all around like the business itself would be good to know.
Including a paint booth if there is to be one.
Roger, is it time
Yes.
for me to put my 2 cents in there?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, we'd also need to know number of employees, even if he's going to consider at a later date to have 1 or 2, and how many cars are going to be allowed on the property, not including any employee vehicles, what the maximum number of cars on display would be at any one time, and if there's going to be any additional outside lighting, and maybe no outside, for one of the conditions should be no outside storage of parts, scrap materials, etc.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments at this time? From anyone?
Nope.
Does the applicant understand what we're looking for?
I do. I do have one question. I think it was Barbara that asked it about the what's going on inside the building.
That was Sandra.
Well, Sandra, sorry. About lifts and that sort of thing. Do you guys need to know, like do you guys need, are you looking for like a layout of the interior of the building? Is that what we were looking for? Or?
Justin, this is Jen Rowden, the
Yeah.
planner. That usually covers most of those questions with sort of a detail of what
Yeah.
bay will be used, if there's the office space, storage, and
Okay.
any detail you can provide usually satisfies those kinds of questions.
Okay. Great. I can do all that.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Wait,
This is
wait,
Annie.
just- we have a
I'd like to
question.
make a motion to continue this to our next meeting, which is October 13th.
If you're
Is
gonna
there a
ask a question-
second?
Yeah, I'll make a second on that, but I want to include, this is Jim White, by the way, that siren that you're talking about, that is a nuclear incident siren. If it goes off, you better be getting your butt out of town real quick. You can get information on that by either going over to the New Seabrook Nuclear Power Station or check with John, the fire chief. He might have stuff on it. Okay?
Thanks, Jim.
Any other comments before we vote?
Who seconded?
Jim White did.
I just have a little general question. All you said about the siren. I would think that when Seabrook put that there, they asked the town for an easement at the very beginning. So should that easement be listed on the plan?
And this is Charlie. I checked on that today and we can't find anything.
Oh,
I guess at the time when Seabrook put that in there, they never figured that they were ever going to sell the property and it would never be a problem.
oh. Hmm. Does that open up a problem, Jen?
I would actually recommend that the town maybe work with the applicant to have the town attorney draw up an easement for the siren. That should be fairly simple and could certainly be a condition of approval if we get to that point.
Okay.
Seabrook pays taxes on that.
Would the easement be with the town or would it be with the nuke plant?
I would have the easement be attached to the property prior to any finalization of a sale.
Okay.
Any other comments on this? If not, Jim, will you read the motion and call the roll?
Move to continue to October 13th. Mr. Cromlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Foote, Mr. Foote, Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
Larry, are you on mute?
no, he's not.
He's not.
Larry just texted me. He said he got blocked out somehow, and to stop the meeting until he can get back in.
Is he in the waiting room, Jim?
No, he is not. He's showing us still being in the meeting. I mean, if you want, I can actually boot him.
Maybe
Yeah.
you should
But
do a reset.
Okay, I've removed Larry Foote.
Edvin, can you text him to ask him to try to come back in?
Yes, sir. Doing that right now.
Well, Jim, did we have enough votes to at least close out that vote? This is Mike.
Yes, we did.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest we move on.
I did just admit 2 people.
Larry, are you in? Did you recognize the phone numbers, Jim?
I honestly, I don't have a list of phone numbers.
He says he's in, but can't hear anything, and now he just told me he's on. I don't know what that means.
I can hear you now. You hear me?
Okay, so how do you vote?
I missed it. I get disconnected.
No, but the vote remained open, so we're waiting for you to vote.
The vote on what?
To continue the
The public hearing to October 13th.
Yes. That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
That is unanimous.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the board business. The first item on the agenda is future board meetings, virtual or in person. The state of affairs right now is that the governor continues the state of emergency, so we have the option of continuing to meet virtually. The Board of Selectmen has opened town hall for in-person meetings by boards, committees, and commissions. So they do have some regulations in terms of and mask will be recommended. And I believe that the maximum number of people allowed in the hall are 25. One of my first questions that I have, Jen, is if we meet in person, will you be able to attend?
In short, Roger, no. It's the policy of my employer that I am not allowed to attend in-person meetings at this point, not until the
So-
state of emergency is lifted.
Okay, so that hasn't changed.
No.
Okay. Hearing that, I think that we probably should continue to meet virtually, but I will entertain comments from any other members of the board.
Hey, it's Edmund. Oh. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Evan.
Roger, I think we should go back to in person with Jen. You know, we could have her on the phone. There has to be a way to set her up on the
Basically,
speaker system.
Speaking to when the selectmen met, there was a long discussion about the possibility of what they were calling hybrid meetings, where some members would be physically present and some members would be basically on Zoom, or the public could be on Zoom at the same time. Unfortunately, the town does not have the technical equipment to be able to do that. So that if we meet in person, Jen's not going to be there. Okay.
Roger, they're not going to lift that emergency order till next year. If you want to go the next 6 months without meetings, but you know what? Call for a vote and see what everybody thinks.
I have a question. This is Annie. Can the selectmen do something about making a hybrid possible? I mean, what would it take? A microphone?
It's really just take a phone. That's all it is, just a phone on a speaker.
No, the problem is that there's a huge feedback loop. And because at the selectmen's meeting, the guy from the cable committee sort of went through a lot of different options. And I guess the selectmen did ask that they look into what it would cost, but at this point, they have not moved forward with the possibilities of hybrid. Because I agree, if hybrid were possible, I would be all for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see us not having meetings without the benefit of our circuit rider planner.
I'll have to agree with that. Unfortunately, Jen, what is it going to take to get them to change their mind?
You will have to talk to the executive committee of my office.
Roger, can you do that?
If the board wants, to authorize me to send a note or a request that they change their procedure, we can do that.
I think I'd like to make a motion that you do so, stipulating the safety measures that will be in place to reassure them. And hopefully it'll have an impact.
This is Mike. I have a comment, please.
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I think definitely my experience with this board and previous boards, not having the circuit rider there is a very bad way to move forward. So I think until that can be straightened out, this also goes beyond that. This board and the town is made up of a lot of, I would say, at-risk population. We know as we're getting into the fall and the winter, it's going to, the cases of COVID are going to just keep going up. it's not fun. I just came back from being out of state and having to wear a mask for 7 hours straight in a day. That's no fun. But it has to be done. I'm also back in a 2-week quarantine again. It's easy to say, oh, let's go back to where it was. Nothing's going back to where it was. So I think this rush to try to get back into a building so we can sit there 6 feet apart with masks and then deal with people who don't want to wear their masks, it's just way too premature. I think it's putting the health of our residents and health of the board at risk, and I just don't think it's worth it at this time.
This is Jim White. I'd like to add to what you just said. In the time that Barbara and I have been here, we have noticed how useful it is to have Jennifer around. I mean, she's always there. She always knows what to say and what to do in every given situation. And I would hate to see us become separated from her.
Roger, this is Sandra. Can I talk?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Right, and the other thing would be if we went back into the town hall, like you said, the logistics of it, we could only allow 25 of the public in at the same time. So how do you handle that when, people want to come in and talk about an application? Do they wait outside, in and out, back and forth?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes.
Just because I have the listing showing the discrete participants at any given time. At one point this evening, we were at 36 people.
Right.
And please remember that the hall's limitations includes the number of people that are there from the planning board.
Right. Right. And then if you go to the hybrid too, you have to be able to, the people have to be able to see the people talking on the computers, and the people have to be in the thing. I mean, you know me, I don't like technology, but I think we're better off just to, if we're gonna have meetings, just to keep them all on the Zoom for right now.
Well, I think, I personally would prefer to ask the selectmen to look into the possibility of the hybrid. Get more details on how we could do that. And then those people who want to meet in person can meet in person, and those people who are not comfortable meeting in person can meet on Zoom. But
so Roger, Larry here.
What'd you say, Larry?
So we are in the process. We do have a quote for all that new equipment. It's like $10,000. We're going to vote on it on a meeting on October 6th. Not sure how long it's going to take to set up, but it's going to be the capability of, if you want to stay home, stay home. If you want to come in, come in.
So hearing that, I think our best option at this point is for us to continue doing Zoom until that technology is in place. We can watch one meeting with the selectmen and see how it works. And then we could adopt it. So for my recommendation until hybrid is available is that we continue to meet on Zoom.
Right.
I'd also like to
but
say
just
that,
remember, the planning board doesn't revolve around one person either.
That was a person's recommendation.
this is
Every
Annie.
member get the vote.
This is Annie. I made a motion that we proceed, that we ask Roger to contact Jen's people. I think it probably should wait on finding out what happens with the selectmen so that we can, then we'll know whether she could attend by Zoom. So I withdraw my motion.
Very good.
This is Mike. I'd like to make a motion. I'll keep it simple that for the near future, we continue to hold meetings via Zoom.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jim, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hamel?
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick?
No.
Mr. Andrews?
Aye.
Mr. Foote?
No.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
That's 5 in favor, 2 against.
Reluctantly.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an ideal situation, but I think if the town goes with, you know, getting the hybrid working, that will be a big improvement.
Oh, yeah.
One
Okay.
comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You might want to authorize, however, there was in one of the recent things that I read, if you go to a hybrid system, only one member will be allowed. The way the executive order is structured, it's either all or nothing. The hybrid allows one person to phone in. Because remember,
Jim, this is
statute.
Jen.
Yeah.
That's not actually quite accurate. You can have a combination.
When we're no longer under executive order, that will be the case. But right now, I mean, the school board is meeting with people. You know, the hybrid is covered.
Okay.
Correct. Just the one thing is that if there are enough people sitting in the room in person, then you do not need to do a roll call vote. You do need to do a roll call vote if you have one or more people virtually.
Okay. Okay, that ends that item. The next item is the NEPR manifest. You received them in your email yesterday. Can I have a motion to pay the NEPR manifest in the amount of $1,029.72?
I so move.
Second.
I'll second.
Any comments? Jim, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Mr. Foote,
There he goes again.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Foote, Mr. Foote. That is 6 in favor, unanimous.
Thank you. The next is acceptance of minutes. We have minutes from August 25th, and we also have minutes from September 13th. Can I have a motion?
I'd like to move to accept the minutes of which one? August 25th, please.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments on the minutes of August 25th?
Yes, this is Annie, Mr. Chair. On page 8, the second paragraph, it states, I would like to change the second sentence to say, she feels that the town has approved of the land use. She wants to see the development take place for the tax benefits to Newton. However, recommends that the applicant needs to be very thorough, not through, thorough with every single aspect of the plans. That's what I actually said.
So by the time I got to where you were, are you just changing that one word, or is there other?
No, instead of saying that the town has approved of the application, however, that's not correct. The town did not approve the application. It's that the town approved the land use. And
Okay.
she wants to see the development take place for the tax benefits to Newton. However, recommends that the applicant needs to be very thorough with every aspect of the plan.
If you want to supply that in writing.
I'll be happy to email it to you.
Okay. Any other comments or corrections for the minutes? So We'll have a vote to accept the minutes of August 25th as amended. Jim, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews.
Aye.
Mr. Foote is not back. Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
Mr. Foote has not tried to come back. He's not in the waiting room.
Okay. We'd also have minutes from the site walk on September 13th. Does someone want to make a motion?
I wasn't there, but I'll motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Any comments on the minutes?
Not much to read.
Jim, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Transportation Advisory Committee. This was brought up, I don't know, a few months ago, and we didn't take any action on it. Jen, will you remind us about what this is about?
Sure. About half of Rockingham Planning Commission's work is as a metropolitan planning organization. That's, in short, the Federal Highways provides money through the state for us to do regional transportation planning. Transportation Advisory Committee actually provides technical guidance and recommendations for my office related to transportation issues regarding planning policy, review of major work products by staff, and then the general transportation planning program. So towns are allowed to nominate or appoint members. Every town is given one member. The planning board typically nominates and then the select board appoints.
Okay. So do we have any interest in this?
Yes, I expressed an interest a couple of months ago and I continue to have interest. This is Annie.
Is anybody else interested in doing it?
Just one question for Jen. I can't remember what we talked about before. How much of a commitment is this? How many meetings are they usually a month?
They're usually monthly, but I want to say it's more like 9 meetings a year. They don't usually meet in August and December, possibly one other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they're usually during the day on Thursday mornings.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so nobody else is expressing an interest. Can I have a motion to recommend to the selectmen?
I'll make a motion to recommend Andy for the Transportation Advisory Committee. Sandra.
I'll second that.
Okay, Jim, can you call the roll?
That was Edvin that seconded.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Mr. Foote, sorry. Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the New Hampshire Municipal Association workshops. Annie expressed an interest in attending. So usually what we do is, we encourage board members to take training, and but the training needs to be approved by the board. So Annie, what are you interested in taking?
Oh, it's the transportation one. I haven't got it in front of me, of course, right now. I'm sorry. I should have been prepared.
I move to let Annie take the transportation one.
Andy, do you have some idea of what it costs?
I don't, because I didn't see the whole, I didn't see the whole, I didn't see any detail on it.
Do you know when it is?
Wait a second.
Hang on. County Transportation Board. No, it isn't.
No.
That's not it. Wait a minute. Sorry, I don't have it.
Well, usually don't we try to encourage as many people to go to as many of these NHMA workshops as possible? I think.
Annie, were you trying to do the hard road travels, the DOT transportation? It's
Yeah.
$55 on October 9th.
Okay.
Okay. So Mike made a motion to approve Andy to take that workshop. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Can't do that, Annie.
You can't do that. You're going.
Yes, you can.
I second for Annie.
Okay.
That might be a
any-
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it might be. I don't know, though.
Does anyone else want to go? It's probably a Zoom online, right? Webinar
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you get a copy of the book?
I believe that.
The book is online.
It is?
Yep.
It's a big book. I tried to read it.
It is a big book.
Okay. Okay, Jim, will you call the roll? But before we do that, is anyone else interested in taking any courses at this time?
I sent everybody the email listing the courses. I've already been signed up to take the public records retention.
Okay. Okay.
We have to
well,
vote for you to get paid for that?
no,
Yeah.
'cause that
Are you
comes
gonna
out of
take
the
it?
operating budget. Because he's an employee, not a member of the board.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Jim, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hamel,
Aye.
Mr. Cronlick,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Ms. Collier,
Aye.
Ms. Estabrook.
Aye.
Okay. The way you do it is you sign up, and when you sign up, there's a printout that you get. Drop it off. Needs to come to the planning board office, and I can pass it along to the bookkeeper.
Okay.
Okay, any other business to come before us this evening?
I would really like us to discuss this right to know request email that we got. There are a lot of things on there which are public record, which the applicant, whatever, the person who sent it could go into the planning board office and look at old minutes, and can go on the registry of deeds and look and see what the history is of the lots, the deed history. Those are not really things that, one of the things under right to know that we are not required to do is to create documents that, you know, and to do that. So I don't believe that it's something that our AA has to do, is to go through 55 years of, or 65 years of old minutes to see where those are. I think the applicant, the information is there.
Well, also, if you talk about the one that came in today, he's only asking for things that exist in electronic copies. So anything that is not electronic, like, you know, the records from 1945, I'm sure, are not electronic at this point.
Right, there are no records from 1945 in this office because the planning board did not come into existence until the late 60s. Zoning did not come into effect until 1973, I believe.
I mean, do you have, there are, I know that there are several items on that list that, like you said, would be relatively easy to respond that these records do not exist here. And as far as I know, that like I said, deeds are not kept at town hall. They're kept at the registry of deeds.
Exactly.
So that, if the person wants access to those things, there are other places to go. There are other keepers of the record.
Exactly.
And I think, if you could respond to those items that don't exist, or that documents that don't exist, and just say that these things aren't there.
Right. All of the electronic minutes are available on the website.
Right.
They go back to 2004. Prior to that, they were typed, and they do exist in boxes in the back room, but they are not scanned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, are you able to respond to that request in a timely manner?
On Thursday, I will be responding to it with an idea. There are certain things that can be sent out immediately. There are certain things that would take quite some time to retrieve. They would require extensive research.
This is Sandra. I agree with Annie. Have we talked to like our council about like the type of things we need to provide, and like it's right to know, but is it like specific to things out of a quorum, or like Annie said, anyone can go online and find these records themselves. So to burden us or you with trying to find things that may or may not exist, or that are so old, it seems like it's out of the scope of what the right to know is.
Right. Within 5 days, I simply have to respond stating, here it is. It's not, here it is in an email. I don't have it right now. It will take me X number of days, weeks to assemble it, or it can't be assembled. Like minutes from 1945. No, there are no minutes here from 1945. There are no minutes here, I believe, earlier than 1969.
Well, I, for one, don't want you reading through minutes from 1969 to find what might or might not be in there about votes or.
I don't think right to know requires us to go and do research for him. No. It requires us to make the records available, so that if he wants to look at the minutes from 1969, we would have to make some arrangement to make them available to him.
Okay,
Roger, this is Barbara. That's correct. It can't be extra work for the person who's getting it together. It can be, like you said, it's not making another document out of all of that stuff they're asking for.
Right.
We have to take the documents we have and make them available to the requester. We don't do the research of finding, okay, there's 1,000 documents and there's one in there that he wants. We don't have to find it. We give him access to the 1,000 documents and let him find it.
Right.
That's right. Good. Okay. I just want to make clear that, that we don't have to do a whole lot of work.
Right.
It's also like, things like plans. I'm sorry, but my scanner will scan an 11 by 17, but I cannot scan a...
They're not supposed to scan any of them.
Yeah.
Basically, you make if he wants to look at the plans, he can come in the office and look.
Right.
And if he needs a copy, he can make arrangements of how a copy can get supplied to him.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking through the rest of anything.
But you don't need to create any documents.
The physical address where each board gets documents, that's listed on the website. I mean, I think you can deal with this pretty
Well,
quickly.
yeah, most of it is. Some of it, I'm not certain what he's referring to. I mean, they can't demand a written explanation of anything.
Right, that's creating a document.
Yeah.
He's entitled to documents that exist.
Right.
Roger, this is Mike. This is going a little bit too far with this. Has this, and if it hasn't, I highly recommend this entire email be run by town council.
I was going to read.
Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to, because this came in literally at the end of the day today. I didn't see it until I got here in the office tonight. When I saw it, my first thing was to ask the chair whether or not this should go past council, because I'm not certain. While your physical addresses are, I believe, public knowledge, your email addresses, I don't believe they are, since you're using personal email.
But he's already got them. It's in this email. He sent it to everybody.
Oh, why is it listed as being a?
Don't ask me.
I don't understand. You know, it's.
He can't request that. We can communicate with him with our personal emails or to the board, but he cannot request my personal email.
Right. I mean, they did request the NEPA. I sent them the last NEPA receipt that I did, which is the only one I've done for 125 Development Corps. All the rest are someplace in a filing cabinet.
And that's basically, so that one you need to speak to council about.
Right.
Because we cannot allow a member of the public to look through financial records that are in the office. So basically, he cannot get electronic copies of those.
Well, no, yeah, because they don't exist electronically.
And if he wanted them, and they also contain the whole body of record contains private information of other people's bank information.
That's one of the reasons that I'm taking the course on public records and retention, because certain things are public and certain things would have to be redacted.
Right.
The redaction can be quite lengthy.
Right.
Because you have to make a copy, black it out, and then make a second copy so that it can't be held up to the light and read through.
Right. But he has not requested physical copies of anything, which means he can't get anything that has redacted information.
Well, actually, it means that he can't have anything that isn't already existing as an electronic copy.
Right.
I will find out on Thursday. We used to have like 4 years worth of videos on the planning board site, and they have just recently disappeared.
But again, actually, the planning board is not the keeper of that record. It is the cable committee is the keeper of that record.
Well, I'm going to ask Diane, find out what happened to them, because needless to say, I'm not the only person who has access to the planning board page. Because actually, for another right to know request, they've asked for copies of certain videos. And that's how I discovered they were suddenly gone. They were there a couple of weeks ago, I think, in cleaning things up and trying to make room. They disappeared.
this is standard for those type of video requests. Then should your answer back be that we don't hold those records? You'd have to get them from the cable committee, I would think.
That quite often, because the same person who put that request in 4 or 5 requests ago asked for stuff that was building department, ZBA, and that was my response. My response was, here is the stuff on your list that I have control over. The other items that you request, you have to speak to the appropriate department to get the paper, see what they have for paperwork.
Right.
So that would seem to solve it. We don't really have to spend time, nor does Jim, on stuff that isn't ours. I do think that the one about the response from Mike McNally was about a different application that was just continued at that meeting. And I think that would just solve that and put it to bed, that it wasn't that it was withheld on some other.
It wasn't withheld. That was.
It was a different application.
Exactly. When I was asked if there was a Mike McNally response on the design review, there wasn't.
Right.
It was the next one that immediate. So, I mean, that's.
And I think if you include that information in your email, just say, 1, we don't do explanations. 2, just FYI, that was on a different application than that was just continued at that meeting. That'll put that to bed, maybe.
I'm not certain. I'm not certain that will put that to bed.
Well, I don't think that's anything you have to worry about. But I think
no.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't believe I did anything wrong at that meeting. I certainly didn't, tell anybody, untruth.
I don't think anybody's saying that here. I think all I'm suggesting is that if you say that it was an email on a different application that was not heard that night, that would, that just would clarify, because I'm not sure that the party knows that.
Well, they say that I neglected to provide information.
Don't get triggered.
Oh, I'm not. It just, you have to realize I've been getting these almost once a week, sometimes twice a week, and I'm getting them from 3 different attorneys and an applicant.
Yeah.
So
good. I'm glad we discussed it. Thank you, Roger, for allowing that.
Okay.
Was there an actual motion still on the floor?
Yes,
No.
there was, that we get council's input, because like you said, we're getting so many of these. It's like ridiculous. So what is our,
So Sandra, your motion was to refer the right to know request to council?
Right, and if he could give us some direction on what we should provide, or, what's out of our scope.
Okay.
I do have I've gotten a certain amount from the NHMA legal bureau that I have been using for answering, because I haven't had authority to go to council.
Well, I'd like to second Sandy's motion. This is Annie.
Any other discussion on the motion? Not, Jim, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hamill?
Aye.
Mr. Andrews?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Aye.
Mr. Cromlick?
Aye.
Mr. Estabrook? Sorry, Miss Estabrook? Sorry.
Aye.
Seeing that Mr. Foote has dropped off.
You can't replace him.
Oh, that's right. He's irreplaceable.
Right. Mr. White?
He's irreplaceable.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6 in favor, unanimous.
Okay. Any other business for the evening?
Hey, this is Mike. I have one question, only because of saying Mr. Foote is irreplaceable. And I just brought up a thought. So he's the ex officio. He's not an elected member of the board. So is the ex officio, when he is on the board, he or she is on the board, is he speaking as an individual, or is he speaking representing the view of the select board?
Mike, this is Jen. He should be speaking. He is considered a full planning board member.
So he's speaking as an individual, not as a representative of the Board of Selectmen?
Correct.
Okay,
But
I
he's
just had that,
speaking-
somebody asked me that question, is like, is that the
But he
view of
is
the select
appointed
board?
to that position by the select board.
Okay,
I
but
have a
it's
question.
his
If,
personal, okay.
if Charlie were still here, could you appoint him in case it's very
No.
left? Or did the select board have?
The selectmen could appoint an alternate ex officio, but that's at the discretion of the selectmen.
Okay,
Correct.
And I don't believe it actually has to be a selectman. They can appoint an ex officio who is not.
That is also
Good for
true.
them. Okay, I had one other thing I wanted to ask about. We just said a while ago that we would begin discussing the master plan in September, and obviously we haven't done that. If the agenda is not too heavy for October 13th, I'd like to suggest that we begin that conversation.
Jim, how many more applications do we have coming in?
We have one that should have been dropped off yesterday, but he forgot. He actually showed up with an envelope that was empty. We have that one, and possibly another home-based business. We had an accessory apartment, a home-based business, and possibly another home-based business, because the cutoff, I believe, is Thursday. Let me.
And we've got the 3 that we continued tonight.
Right.
Well, the
Right.
the 2 we continued, yeah.
So I think, right?
No, we have 3 that were continued from tonight. So we quite possibly at the next meeting we'll have 6.
Okay.
So I understand your real desire, Annie, to get going on this, but
I was just raising it to see where we stand and whether we can do it yet.
yeah, right.
Get it. We're still very busy. I get
Yeah.
it.
Once the workload, hopefully the workload's going to slow down, but this has been a very, very unusual year. I mean, we got a late start and we've gotten a lot of applications.
Since April, we have done, I believe, 16 applications.
Usually we do what, 7 or 8 in a year?
That's on a heavy year. We've actually had years when we've done 2 and 3. However, the new building inspector is doing a good job of catching things and sending people in.
That's good.
And quite honestly, even though I've done a lot of extra hours with all of this, I believe in application fees, I've brought in a little over $10,000 so far.
Uh-huh.
Except for the fact that they don't use it to offset our budget.
Right. Okay, anything else?
Adjourn?
Please.
We have completed our agenda. I declare the meeting adjourned at 9:21.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Roger, give me a call if you want.